And number. Seen my really. We're we get through our slide code. Yeah. I turned it on. With our slide.
To the slide deck that has the information for our FY26 budget proposal for next year. This is our official public hearing for the official time for the board to have this. We had to advertise it. So the information that we advertised through the in the paper with our public notice was based on the House Ways and Means numbers. We did get some projected increases from the Senate Finance Committee meeting on just Friday. We did not build those into the presentation because those are just projections at this time. But those would help us to cover our pending state actions that we'll go over in the budget presentation. We'll hopefully know something soon, we hope, because the conference committee starts tomorrow. We're hoping for a timely compromise so that hopefully by the time we come back to y'all June 9th for y'all to vote on our budget, that we would know just how the state falls with their budget. They do, however, have a continuing resolution that's all ready to go, just in case they don't pass the budget, which we hope that they will. But for our purposes, we do have to pass a budget for taxing purposes by June 30th. So we couldn't do a continuing resolution. There was something else I was going to say about the conference committee, but I don't recall. I'll think about it as we go. The other thing was that we did not build into the presentation if we were to get an increase in millage from the county. We did build the expenditures in, but we haven't built in the revenues yet because we're not certain if that was going to be approved. We understand that they are meeting tonight for their second budget reading after their budget presentations from the other agencies. And so we're anticipating hearing something after those presentations this evening. Okay, so Chad, you're going to help us tag team with this, and Lisa, we're going to tag team it like our good group that we always do. So our 2026 budget priorities, of course, student achievement is number one focus. The reason why we're here for the school district is to make sure that our students are doing the best that they can. In order for us to have great student achievement, we need great quality teachers. So we're focusing on teacher quality, recruitment, and retention. And then encompassing all of this, we have to have the financial stewardship in order to have all of that in place for the student achievement and the teacher quality. Sources of funds that we have in Dorchester School District 2, specific to us. Well, these first items are not specific to us. Everyone in the school, everyone in the state of South Carolina has a general fund. That's where our operations expenditures are captured. It's unrestricted use of funds. Our local property taxes are captured here, our state aid to classrooms funding, then our special revenue funds. Those are for specific programs and purposes. That would be Title I and our IDEA programs. And then the Education Improvement Act, those are state funds. Typically what happens with those in the state aid to classrooms is those are called flexed over to the general fund, which is for our general operations. 8% funding is also across the board with our school districts. These are funds that from proceeds of issuance of our 8% debt limit. These are used for capital projects, but specific to Dorchester 2 is we had a referendum back in May of 2024, which passed. that the voters approved for us to be able to build certain projects. There was a list of $200 million worth of projects for us to build schools and refurbish schools and do some parking lots and safety and security. So that is specific to Dorchester too for that source of funding. When we're talking about our general fund revenue items, the first line item is our local property taxes. The first line item indicates that the first column is our FY25 budgeted revenues. Our second column is the proposed revenues for next year. And then the last column is the increase. So local property taxes from 25 to 26 indicate a 5.5 million increase, but that does not reflect the millage increase that was requested. This is for increases in assessed values. The other items that we're increasing are, there's a little bit of increase from state revenue in lieu of taxes, which is our tier 3 from Act 388. Our retiree insurance revenue increased. So from 25 to 26, our proposed revenues are at $292,710,546. This is an $8.6 million increase in revenues for the general fund. We wanted to provide a little bit of operating millage increase history, which we have not had a millage increase since the 2018-2019 year. This just indicates what we could have requested. The consumer price index, the CPI, and the growth percentage that is specific to Dorchester School District 2 is the calculation that would provide an increase in mills each year. And we have not requested those mills in the past. So the very bottom section for 2025-26 fiscal year, the consumer price index and growth percentage equaled 6.94%. So we could have asked for 12.4 mills. Right now, our millage increase, our millage amount decreased because of reassessment. So we went from 183.6 mills to 178.6. Speaking of our general fund revenue budget for this current year, the revenues are represented by the blue columns up on the, the blue on the very top is our local revenues, which is 26.6%, and most everything else is state revenue funded. So we get 26% from local and 72% from the state. We get a little bit of federal impact aid money in the general fund, but mostly it is state monies. For our expenditures, we try to put as much money as we can into instructional support. Our school management is our principals, transportation and safety. All of those folks are dealing with students every single day. Also wanted to point out that in the salary study that was presented in August of 23, of the 10 districts that were compared, DD2 had the lowest ratio of central office leaders to students. So we do a lot with a little on the leadership side. It takes everybody to work at the entire school district. For our expenditures by object group, 86.3% of our budget is for salaries and benefits, and all other program expenditures, operational expenditures, safety, transportation, every other program expenditure is made up of the 13.7.
Okay, if you do the next slide. If you can look in here at the bar graph, you can see DD2 is the far left. DD2 is the blue bar. As you can see in the orange is Beaufort. Berkeley is in the green, and the light blue is Charleston. As you can see, the pay scales there. Next year, Berkeley is supposed to go up to 56.7 starting teacher pay, and 64,000 is for Charleston County. And so you can kind of see where we are currently at. And then you can see where the DD2 starting teacher salary history, you can see we put a lot of money in our teachers and our starting teacher salaries the past 3 years. A huge significant increase. We're hoping to go up to 51,000 for this year. That's a proposed 2026 increase, up to $2,000 increase, 4% increase. And so with this budget, that's what we're hoping to get. And so where do we get this? And so you can see here at this graph with our class sizes. This past year, we were projected to grow almost 1,000 students. This year, we actually lost 595 students. 400 of those students were at the elementary, 195 were at the middle school. We actually gained 90 students at the high school. And so what we needed to do, it's almost a 1,600 swing in students. And so what we did was we were able to absorb almost 54 positions throughout the district. And so no teachers lost their jobs. And so we're able to absorb those because we had those positions for growth. And so when you look at this with our class size ratios, again, we're still staying under the state standard for those ratios. And then moving on. You can see the proposed reductions. Again, 18 positions at the elementary. Again, due to growth, we lost 400 students of elementary. Middle school students, we lost 195. Again, hence why we absorbed 14 positions. And at the high schools, we were able to absorb 20 positions because we were accounting for growth. And so then we're reducing 2 positions at the district office for a total of 54 positions. And so we're have a savings of $5.1 million that we'll put toward teacher salaries. So you can see here the mandates and required increases that we have to do. We're mandated for a teacher step, 2% salary increase for bus drivers, estimated hazardous transportation fee that we just received from South Carolina Department of Education for $50,000. And then also when you look at the SRO contracts, again, those are projected increases of $80,000. And then projected energy costs of $250,000, and then an increased cost of maintenance, materials, and services for $500,000. So there are some mandates there for $3.1 million. And so this is what Mrs. Monet was talking about earlier. These are mandates that we did not have originally in our budget that kind of are things that we're going to have to pay for. Now they're potential. They are mandates. And so there's going to be an increase on our health insurance that the employer has to take care of, not the employee, which we're grateful for that. So there's $400,000 that we'll have to come up with, and then a potential mandate for possible parental leave to 12 weeks now. And that could be costing the district almost up to $600,000 for that. And then moving on, looking at classroom allocations. One thing that I do want to point out, and we do want to point out, is we are not cutting any programming. We're still going to be able to offer the same type of programming that we've offered the past year, even though with those 54 positions, we're kind of right sizing. And again, we're still going to be offer the quality programming that we've always been able to offer here. And you can see fine arts will get a few positions, special ed teachers, and also some other TA requests for special ed. And so those are requests there that we do need to have, and that's $1 million. Content specialists and ITS positions, you can see this. These are district level content specialists. There's 8 of those. For instructional technology, there's 6 positions there. We are asking in the budget there for a Mac position. We are having more. We're looking at software and types of computers, Macs, which are Apple products. And then we are actually removing 4 positions that were currently funded in general fund there. And those are 4 content specialists there. So you can see that for an addition of $1.1 million. So going into this, the salary increase priorities requires additional millage. We went down and were able to give our budget presentation to County Council. And you can see here our step for classified and certified staff not paid on the teacher scale. That's $1.6 million. You see the salary increase of $1,500 increase to all steps of the teacher's salary scale, bringing the starting salary to $50,500. That's $3.4 million. And then a 1% increase for classified and certified staff not paid on the teacher scale at $800,000. So that's $5.8 million, and that would require additional mills. And you can see there that's 4.9 mills needed. And then adding an additional $500 to all steps of the teacher salary scale, bring that salary to $51,000. So each teacher would receive $2,000. So that's another $1.1 million. And again, the cumulative was needed. We asked for county council were 7.6 mills. Ones are in the gray. We just felt like the additional 1,000 all steps of the salary scale, bringing that starting salary to 52,000. At this point, we didn't feel we'd love to have that, but just what we'd be putting on our businesses and our business community at this time. The 7.6 was something that we felt like we just needed, but we didn't go any farther than that. And so you can kind of see that and going to the next scale on the next page, the summary of the fiscal year 2026 expenditure changes. And I'll hand this over to Ms. Meunier.
We added, this is a new slide. This is a summary of our salaries, benefits and other expenditures, just to kind of summarize everything that we have been talking about, compared from FY25 to our proposed FY26 expenditures. So we were starting at 288 million for this current year that we're in, and next year with those increases that Mr. Doherty just went over, it would be $295,960,702. So the increase in expenditures is $7.2 million. Then when you go to this slide, is what the millage increase was that we requested from Dorchester County Council. The local revenues, state revenues, the totals for a total of $295.9 million. We would need $3.2 million as a millage increase, which, as you can see on the far right bottom, equates to the 7.6 mils. In the middle section is the proposed expenditure summary, where we started with the 288 as we showed on the last slide. And then with the increases and decreases, as Mr. Doherty just went over, it will bring us to the also balanced at $295,960,702 for expenditures. We also provided this slide that shows, based on the information that we received from the county auditor, that the value of a mill in Dorchester School District 2 is $432,743. So our request for 7.6 mills, if you calculate that out on a business that is valued, the assessed value of 500,000, it will be a $228 increase on their tax bills, and it shows the calculation on the bottom. The next two slides were budget requests that we had received from departments and schools and principals and district leadership that we felt were very important. We wanted everyone to know that these are not just silly wants. These are actual needs as well. But at this time, as Mr. Doherty said, we just weren't able to fill all of those into the budget, into the requests that we felt like we could request from county council. So those were our additional budget requests and needs for $13 million. We'll keep working on that. This last slide shows our budget calendar, where we started back in January when we started working with, again, principals and department heads, district leadership, and we are pretty close to the bottom here. We still have for the board to approve the budget. County council will approve their budget on June 16th. And hopefully it'll all work out for June 30th, and July 1 we'll be ready to go. So that was all the information that we had tonight for our public hearing. If there are any questions, y'all could be giving the presentation at this point.
But two comments I'd like to make. I think what this budget represents is the efforts by the district and by the board to try and focus on good stewardship. There's an awful lot that's been done to right size and find ways to do more with less than what we have, but also importantly, focusing on our district's goals, student achievement being first and foremost. But I think it also points out the continuing issues we have in dealing with unsustainable funding for our schools. And glad to see some members of the public here tonight. Hopefully other members of the public are online watching this, but understand that at some point in time, you have to deal with the laws of physics and math. And the fact is, it costs money to run a school district. We have buildings, we have salaries, and we have a growing number of children, even though this year, you look around, there's a lot more growth still coming. So there's going to be more children coming and they need to be addressed. So appreciate the work that Ms. Munay and team have done. Superintendent Doherty, done a good job. Appreciate all the conversations along the way. But in terms of questions, appreciate the new slide. That was good. So that made it different. We have seen this a few times. But are you getting indications? Okay, we've confirmed now that the two potential mandates are in fact real mandates. So that's another $1 million we got to come up with out of Hyde. Okay. Any other comments in general you'd like to make or point out to help inform the public about what's going on, and any indications about anything coming down the pike, perhaps here in the final period of horse wrangling that will take place in Columbia and then they settle on a budget?
So conference, like Tina said earlier, the conference committee meets starting at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. They do still have to come to an agreement on these things. They're not a complete done deal, but we do expect those two to go forward. And it's truly not a done deal until it makes it to the governor and gets signed, but we should have a better indication going forward. I don't know that there's anything else potential mandate wise that we know that's on the horizon out there, and they can only discuss discrepancies that they had between the House and Senate. So we don't expect anything new to come up other than what we already know about.
And then we hope to hear something back soon from the conference committee if those Senate finance projections, that additional revenue can help us to pay for those mandates. And waiting to hear from the county. So that's where we are with that.
All right, thank you all. That great presentation. Appreciate it very much. So that concludes the new business, and the next item on our agenda this evening is our public comments, and we do have a public comment. Thank you very much for your attendance. Ms. Wheeler? Yeah,
Absolutely. I'll let you have the microphone so we can hear you.
I do appreciate everything that y'all do. I think that y'all should have more a voice in what county council's approving, because this is going to be disastrous. They've approved 22,000 new homes between the town of Somerville and Dorchester County. Well, in researching records, we've come across something that I think the school board should get behind, because this is money that the school districts are losing. It's going to affect us as homeowners, especially when y'all come up with another bond referendum, because 22,000 new students new homes means about 35,000 more students, which at 1,200 students a school, you're talking 25 schools. And at $100 million each school, we're talking $2.5 billion that's going to be put on the taxpayers. And that's not something I can afford. I've lived in Dorchester County all my life, and all I've done is watch the prices just keep going and the taxes going up. But I just want to read something kind of short to you. I did present this to council, and I do have the South Carolina Department of Revenue reviewing it. Following companies are listed as public companies traded on the stock exchange: Mungo Homes, D.R. Horton, Lennar, and Beazer. The main purpose of agricultural zoning is to preserve farmland for agricultural production. Property held for development by a public company, even if used for agricultural purposes, generally cannot get agricultural zoning status. Agricultural zoning is primarily designed to protect and preserve farmland for agricultural production, not for development or speculation. Public companies are typically involved in development activities, which are often inconsistent with the goals of agricultural zoning. Act 388 for school funding in 2006 says when a property is sold, it is reassessed, and the assessment is based on the sales price. except if you're a developer in Dorchester County. South Carolina Code of Laws, which I have the law here, says real property which is ostensibly used for agricultural properly, but is in reality used for other purpose is not agricultural property. The agricultural use of the property must be genuine in nature as opposed to sham or deception. County assessors, in determining whether the tract in question is bona fide agricultural real property, should be using the following factors. And there's a list of them. But then it gets down here to the qualifications. And the qualifications cannot have more than 10 shareholders, cannot have as a shareholder person other than an estate who's not an individual, such as a shell company, such as BRD, Charleston Timber, DR Horton, DV Timber. Those are all under one umbrella, 4-star. They cannot have a non-resident alien as a shareholder. Lindsay Jarvis, the CEO, is the major stockholder of DR Horton, is listed as being in New Zealand and cannot have more than one class of stock. And the application for agricultural does not ask these questions. Rollback tax has changed 1/1/21, now only a 3-year period rather than the previous 5-year period. Advantageous to developers, saving 2 years worth of rollback tax. Are the rollback taxes based on the market value or county's assessed value? We've done some spreadsheets here, and I do have an extra couple of copies. Just 29 of these properties, okay? The county is missing out, well, the county and the state under Act 388, it comes out to like $1.7 million in taxes because they got a piece of property. I'll give you, for instance, 4-star for the Yerby development, okay? 38 million is what the tax record showed it was paid. They're paying a total of about $900 in taxes for a $38 million piece of property. They should be paying $805,000. There's a couple more, and unfortunately, the way the records in the courthouse go, once something is released, the county no longer shows the records. So I cannot go further back on some of this. I've got one here, Mungo Homes. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Orangeburg Road, but the Sweetsgrass Station that's over there, there's probably 100 homes there now. They're still getting agricultural zoning. They should be paying about $105,000 in taxes. They're paying $230 in taxes. That's a lot of money that our school district is missing out because of this. And what I would like is for y'all to bring this up to county. They keep saying there's a letter, and there is, and I'll let you read it, that was given from the assessor's office. However, this letter doesn't really make any sense. They're comparing apples and oranges. They took a piece of property out at Middleton, which is owned by one family, and tried to take agricultural away from them. But yet they're giving these developers the agricultural zoning, and it's costing us a lot of money. And I know y'all gonna catch flack for this. I know you are. I've already heard it from council. I know you need the 7.6 mills, and you're gonna need a whole lot more, but you're gonna start getting pushback from a lot of people about this because, you know, us that have lived in Somerville all our life, we can't afford this. You know, it's just $2.5 billion. Where's the school board gonna come up with that kind of money from? They need to start pushing this because this is only 29 properties. I hate to see how many there is. You know, and like I said, you're welcome to look at it. Thank you.
All right, and that is our only public comment for this evening. So I believe that concludes our agenda. And so at this time, we will adjourn the meeting.